Trayvon Martin is dead, but the mainstream media and the race-hustling left are doing everything they can to keep hate alive. I'm Steve Green. This is Trifecta, and of course there's no need to rehash all the details, especially since they're all still up in the air. So let's bring on the rest of the gang, Scott Ott and Bill Whittle. You know, gents, there are so many angles to this story, so I want us to focus on the reactions to it so far. Scott, I have a clip here of Republican strategist Matthew Dowd on This Week Sunday morning. He's about as establishment as you can get. And what he said, I think, was pretty typical, but, well, watch the clip.
To me, it's what's ironic. It's such irony about this is most of the states that have passed this, including Florida, and the Stand Your Ground laws and the expanded, obviously, gun ownership laws where you can carry a concealed weapon are also the same states and the same legislators and the same governors who sort of push for prayer in the school. To me, there's such an irony here that we're going to, we want to be
more with all those guns out
we want to be a Christian nation and we want to act in a Christian manner, but oh, by the way, we don't believe in the turn your other cheek and we don't believe in love your enemy. We believe in loading citizens and basically giving them an opportunity to shoot people.
Scott, I'm not even a Christian, and I was shocked and offended by that statement. What's your take on it?
Well, my take is that this guy, they have to fill space on these cable networks, apparently, because this guy has no idea what's happening in this case. And he has chosen to use this case, because people are talking about it, to actually advance his notion that for some reason your faith and belief in God is inconsistent with your desire to defend your family or to defend your neighbors. It's an absurd assertion that has nothing to do with this case, and I think we've seen a lot of that in the recent week and a half, 2 weeks since the media have been discussing this. It's whatever you want this case to be, that's what it's about. Whatever your axe is to grind, let's use Trayvon Martin's case to grind it.
Yeah, that is an excellent point. It's what got me so upset about this over the weekend when it broke. Bill, our colleague Victor Davis Hanson wrote, and this is a quote, "The media cannot explain why in this particular case some outlets have adopted the new rubric white Hispanic. What is the reasoning behind that, and why all of a sudden now?" Indeed, Bill, why now?
Everything that the left does is predicated upon dividing the country into tribes which are set at war against each other. This is the essence of the Frankfurt School strategy of critical theory to destroy America. Take e pluribus unum, out of many one nation, divide it into tribes and set the tribes at war with each other. The narrative is, of course, that black people are constantly being murdered by white people when every single data point says it's precisely the opposite. If you want to get down to the actual truth of the matter, black on white murders are far higher than white on black murders. And the fact also is that 98% or 94% or whatever the number is of the black Americans that are killed today are killed by other black Americans. If you're killed by a black American, I don't know how you're any more dead or less dead than you would be if you're killed by a white person. But the entire point, Steve, is to divide the country up into this narrative and maintain this narrative that white people are evil, guilty, and murdering black people hither and yon. And the real reason for this is this allows the Democratic Party to maintain their lock on the black vote, without which they will never win another national election. Follow the votes. They say follow the money. It's just follow the votes.
Yeah, indeed. It was almost 50 years ago that Ayn Rand called it the balkanization of America. And in those 40-some-odd years, it's just gotten cruder and more blatant. Scott, the new Black Panthers are offering $10,000 for the capture, well, kidnapping, really, of George Zimmerman. Shouldn't the DOJ be investigating that rather than looking into Florida's Stand Your Ground law?
Well, at least at the time that we recorded this episode of Trifecta, Mr. Zimmerman was a free man, not charged with a crime. And so the idea that somehow there's this vigilante group out there publicly offering a reward for the capture, which could result in the harm of this man who's not accused of any crime, it's beyond my imagination how these so-called political and civic leaders aren't standing up and calling for calm, and calling for peace, and calling for justice, and calling for allowing the legal system to work. Instead, as Bill suggested, they're fanning the flames of racial division.
I just have to add something here.
That's what a... Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
We saw during the election, the 2008 election, we saw new Black Panther members intimidating voters and trying to suppress the vote. And Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, says, I'm not going to launch a prosecution against my people. So if you think something's going to happen because basically people have put a bounty on an American citizen's head, think again. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. All right, Bill, I want to do a little compare and contrast here. President Obama milked this for all it was worth the other day, telling the world that if he had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. But, you know, former NAACP leader C.L. Bryant said that Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton are exploiting Trayvon, and this is a quote, to racially divide this country. Which one of those responses does us more good?
Well, clearly CL is correct. I mean, every time, Steve, I think we've hit the bottom of the cynicism and the divisiveness and the underhanded, mean-spiritedness of this administration. I'm completely amazed. No, there's never a bottom. There's not going to be a bottom. The deeper you dig, the lower you go. Let's not forget the Duke rape trial case. Let's not forget Tawana Brawley and all of this other stuff that these people have been associated with. Remember when this guy, Hassan, shot up that base and Barack Obama came out, and while the guy's screaming Allahu Akbar, gunning down American citizens? We must not jump to conclusions. But the second that anything happens that helps this president's racial divisive narrative, he takes what is essentially a single murder on a docket someplace and injects the entire national political scene into it. It's the most disgraceful, disgusting thing I've ever seen, and it never seems to hit the bottom. We just get lower and lower and lower.
Yeah, I don't think it's too soon to decide that the president acted stupidly. You know, folks, a month later, the facts of this case are still a confused mess, which is probably exactly how the fight and the shooting played out. Not a racially motivated slaying, but an unnecessary tragedy if either man had shown enough wisdom to cool down and back down. But you know what? That's only a guess. It's only my guess. We don't know. What I do know for sure is race relations in this country have gotten worse since we elected our first community organizer-in-chief, and they won't improve again until he is out of office. For PJTV, I'm Steve Green.